G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Today we are talking must-draft players. You have to draft these players, and if you do, you will win your league. You will win thousands of dollars. You will get a promotion. You'll never have any bad luck ever again. Your ex will take you back. All the above. Let's go!
Jordan open. Chicago with the lead. Bryant to Shaq.
Not a game. We talking about practice.
LeBron James with no regard for human life. Anything's possible.
Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang!
Curry for three. Wow! Unbelievable. Making it rain in New York.
We the North are now we the champions.
Not the destination, it's the journey. Mamba out.
G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at Ball Boys Fantasy. And welcome to the Must Draft Podcast. Now, I went a bit overboard in the intro there. Obviously, this will not solve world hunger, and you will not be the richest man in the world if you draft these players. But what we will be doing in this podcast is we'll be going through every round except for round 1 because, I mean, they're all great players. But every round from round 2 to round 10 I've kind of selected of players that I think based on their ADP on all 3 of the major sites, ESPN, Yahoo, and Fantrax. And I'm picking out one player from every site that I think is going too low and that you can get insane value in each round of the draft. Now, in some sites, ESPN, there is more than one, so just keep that in mind. And this is for category leagues. Again, I emphasize category leagues. I will be doing a points league version of this podcast probably tomorrow. So stay tuned for that one if you are looking for the points league version. That is coming. This is for category leagues. I want to specify that. With mostly a head-to-head sort of spin on it. But again, you can get a lot of value if you are also in a roto league. So again, category leagues, must-draft players who are going to smash their ADP in each round. Let's get stuck in. Second round. Now again, I'm pulling this ADP data from my good friends over at Hashtag Basketball. And again, I'm recording this on the 9th of October. So by the time you maybe watch this later, these ADPs might be a bit different. Yahoo just recently did a rankings update, so that does obviously influence their ADP as well. But I had to do this video at some point, so it's coming out now. So Yahoo, the must-have player in the second round, in my opinion, is Trae Young. So he is going at an ADP of 18.9. I am personally fine with taking him at the very beginning of the second round, picks 13 or pick 14. You pair him with LaMelo, a Damian Lillard, a Steph Curry, or any of those guards there, and you are on your way to an amazing punt blocks, punt field goal percentage, or whatever, or both type of build. You ignore the turnovers. He is elite in free throw percentage and assists. He's a great scorer, shoots a decent amount of threes as well. So all the things that you want in your guard. Those stats are hard to come by after the second round. So grab him. Again, his 9 category ranking might not be this high, but it doesn't matter. It's about his strengths. It's about what he does that you cannot find later in the draft. So I am very fine with getting him as high as pick 13. If you want to take him as soon as the second round starts, go for it. I think that there is no argument from me. Even if you want to take him at pick 12 with some of those guys that are a bit more injury prone, like there's an argument for it. I don't think I would do it, but I can see a valid argument for it. On ESPN, craziness. Again, I'm going to say this so many times, but ESPN, LaMelo Ball, he's going at 20. This is a first-round player. He's a first-round player in points leagues and category leagues. You can't even argue that to me. So I know their rankings and ADP slant more, or ADP slants more points leagues, but LaMelo Ball is a first-rounder in both, in my opinion. So I don't know why he's available at 20. Again, you must draft LaMelo Ball in the second round if he is there at pick 20. This is like an actual thing that you must draft him there because if he falls that far, the rest of your league is asleep. To me, I did a video on my first round picks for category leagues. He was at number 8 for me, and he was in a tier before the next group at 9 to 12. So I think that he is going to be really good this season. Again, field goal percentage is his worry. Punt it. Punt that. Punt turnovers. He's like a top 5 player. And I think he's going to do that fairly comfortably, not worried about the ankle injuries at all. You roll your ankles a couple times, doesn't make you injury prone. Fantrax, they've got Kyrie Irving as an ADP of 19.5. Very similar to Trae Young for the Yahoo side of things. I just think that he is someone I'm very happy taking early in the second round. He's really good across the board. He's probably one of the more evenly distributed positive contributors in the first couple of rounds, but particularly his boost in points and his boost in free throw percentage is extremely valuable. Again, that categorical scarcity, those things are harder to find later. He is someone who hasn't had injury issues for the last couple seasons. He obviously misses games for different reasons a lot of the time, but again, last season in the playoffs, he was there. So again, a lot of these guys have their risks at this point, but on a per-game basis in a 9-category setting, he is a top 10 player. In a -1, he's probably closer to that sort of 13-14 range, which is where I think he should be going, in my opinion. So that is the must-grab players in this second round. Let's talk third round. Third round on Yahoo, Bam Adebayo has an ADP of 32.6, and I think now that we know that Damian Lillard is not going to be there, I have much more confidence drafting Bam higher than this. I think he is a mid to early third round guy. I have a little bit of optimism that his usage is going to stay high and that his assists are going to rise back up over 4, maybe even closer to 5 per game. I don't expect Kyle Lowry to be a huge contributor to this team. Now, he reckons he's starting, according to a few quotes, and he might very well start, but I don't think his minutes are going to be all that high. I think also they're going to want the ball in the hands of Bam and Jimmy more, and we know that before Kyle Lowry came to Miami, Bam was averaging 5 assists per game, and if he can get anywhere near that vicinity, he is someone that can be a top 20 guy, very efficient from both the field and the free throw line. Stealing a block per game, rebounds. Now, the rebounds did dip a little bit when Kevin Love started playing some more minutes, but again, it's Kevin Love. Like, is he going to play a whole bunch this season? Maybe a little bit, but I still think he's good for 9 rebounds per game, really. So he's just a really solid guy there that I think now that we know Dame isn't there, I can happy pushing him up a bit higher. ESPN and Fantrax is the same player. Now, I just did the number 14 most interesting fantasy basketball player, and it was Jaren Jackson Jr. And on that show, I detailed that on Fantrax, his ADP at 41.6 seems really off to me. I don't think that it's legit. I had to double check it, confirm that it was right. It is right, according to Fantrax and according to Hashtag Basketball, but I don't know. It just seems really off to me. I don't think I've ever seen him go that late. I've seen him starting to fall, though, so I did put him in this one, and he is starting to drop in some drafts. A lot of the times he is going in the third round in some mocks that I do, and I don't think he should escape the second round, in my opinion. I really think that he's a second-round player. One of the teams in your draft, whether you started with Shea, Steph, or Tatum, probably even Embiid if you really wanted to, you grab Jaren Jackson Jr. and you now punt assists, and you have basically a top 5 player in that build. I know his blocks oversell his value. That's true, but I think, as I detailed in my most recent video, I think he's going to score more than 21 points per game. His free throw attempts are going to go up, and he's got upside in that percentage from last season. And I think he's a player that does more than just block shots. He gets a steal per game. He shoots threes. Everything he does is positive or average or above average, except for assists. So that's the one category. And then when we have one negative category, one poor category, you can punt it, and that makes it much more manageable. So I think Jaren Jackson Jr. shouldn't escape the second round, in my opinion. If you're getting him in the third round, even if you're not punting assists at that point, it's a great player to grab and solidify your blocks without hurting you anywhere except for that assist category. And if you've gone 2 assist guys in the first 2 rounds, you can now wear that, because now the assists start to dry up a little bit from there on. So I think in the third, he is classified to me as a must-add player, must-have. All right, round 4. My guy for both Yahoo and Fantrax is Jordan Poole. Now, on Yahoo, he is going at 48.7. Fantrax, very similarly, 49.7. This guy, again, I think he's a clear third-round guy. You can draft him. Look, this is the 5th round. If I'm actually not mistaken here, let me double check. Have I got this right? So no, this is third round. Yeah, this is the fourth round, at the end of the fourth round, start of the fifth round. So if you're getting him at the start of the third round or start of the fourth round, I think it's a bargain. If you really wanted to, you can go into the third round towards the end if you want to, and I still think he has upside there. I think we are underrating the value of his free throw percentage and the volume at which he's going to get to the line. He got to the line, I think, 6 times in 30 minutes at Golden State. Let me just double check that, actually. Maybe it was 5 times per game. In any which way, it was an extraordinarily high volume. And again, he shot 90+% from the field before. So yeah, 5.1 attempts from the free throw line. And again, that was in 30 minutes as a backup in Golden State. When he goes to Washington and he's the guy, he's a starter, I expect him to play maybe 4 or 5 minutes more. I think that free throw attempt rate is going to go north of 6.5, 7 per game. He's going to get a lot of trips to the line, and that is going to dramatically increase his value. That is a big underrated factor when it comes to his category league value. Yes, he's going to be poor in field goal percentage. That's fine. I get it. But field goal percentage is easier to get later than free throw percentage is. You get some of those big guys like that shoot 60, 70%. It does hurt your team, but it's not unrecoverable. And if you're getting him in the 40s, it's not an automatic punt situation. It doesn't mean you have to go there, but you also have that option. And if you do punt the field goal percentage, I think there's a chance that this guy's a top 20 player in that build. In my -1 rankings, he is a top 30 player. In 9 category leagues, he is a top 40 guy. So again, if you get him in the 40s, you don't even need to punt the field goal percentage. And I think he easily beats this value. So big fan of Jordan Poole. On ESPN, Desmond Bane, again, slanting towards the points leagues. In a points league, this would be more about where I would want him. But in a category leagues, he goes in round 2 sometimes in other sites. I actually don't think he should be going that high. I think he's more of a round 3 player. But if you're getting him in the 50s and late 40s, I think you've got about 20 spots of value there for the entire season, not just while Ja is out. I think that he is a guy that can return more than that, or a fair bit more than that, even when Ja comes back. So love his value at that point, even though I'm not typically a big Desmond Bane fan where he's going on other sites. Let's talk about the 5th round on Yahoo. With the first guy here we got is Tyrese Maxey. I think that last year he was on my don't draft list, but this season I'm in on Tyrese Maxey. I think he's set for a decently big year. This one, compared to some of the other ones, I don't feel as passionately about, but again, he's a guy that's just going to score a lot. He scores efficiently. He gets threes. I think his assists are going to rise this season. I'm not buying James Harden staying on this team at the moment. I know he's playing and doing practices, and he hasn't played the preseason game yet, but I think that he will eventually move, or the pouting will begin when we get closer to the season. So I'm not buying that James Harden's going to be a big factor on this team. So I think that Tyrese Maxey takes a larger role, a larger chunk of the offense. And again, when you are someone who can shoot high percentages in high 40s, get your 3 threes a game, shoot well from the free throw line on decent volume. Now, you're not going to get any defensive stats. Let's clear that up. He doesn't rebound the ball well, but there is definitely something to be said about shooting 3 threes a game, 22 to 23 points, getting 4.5 to 5 assists per game on efficient shooting. I think that there is definitely some value to that. So at 57, I think that is a great spot. ESPN, man, what are you doing? Cade Cunningham, 55. Just way too low. I think that we're sleeping on Cade. Look, I have him really high in my rankings. I know that's a bit bullish, but at 55, you're absolutely kidding yourselves. I think that this guy, I'm pretty sure he was like this in 9-cat or an 8-cat setting, at least in his rookie season. So a guy that is going to come out, he's basically going to put up, 22, 6.5 on 2 threes, 1.1, 1.2 steals, 0.7 blocks. Even if he shoots poorly, he gets there in a 9-cat setting. And then, of course, you've got punting involved, and you can punt the field goal percentage. You don't worry about the turnovers. And he's like a top 30, top 40 player easily, with scope to be much better than that. So at 55, absolute must-draft player at that point. Fantrax, I've put DeAndre Ayton here. 65.5 is his ADP. Now, I'm expecting this to come in a little bit, but it has a fair way to go before I think we actually get to where we should be drafting him. So, again, going off the ADP, this might change between now and the time you are watching this video, but I think he should be drafted probably in the 4th round. if you are someone who is punting, assists, and steals, he is someone that you could get at the end of the third round. I drafted him on the turn in the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl at pick 37. So the first pick of the fourth round, and I feel absolutely fine about it in that build because I was punting, assists, and steals. He was perfect for that. I think he's got a chance at averaging 20 and 10, a block per game, close to 60% shooting from the field, and he doesn't kill you from the free throw line at about 78%. So he is someone that in certain builds can be absolutely perfect. And at 65, I know it's going to come in because people are still reacting to the trade and things like that, but it has to come in a long way before I think we actually get to where he should be going. So I still think I can put him on the list here as a must-draft player. Before we get into the round 6, guys, just a reminder, head over to ballboysnba.com if you are in search for a fantasy basketball season guide to help you with your drafts coming up. I've got top 150 rankings for points and category leagues, top 250 projections on all 9 categories, and on there I have my 9-cat ranking, my 8-cat ranking, -1 rankings, ESPN points projections, Yahoo points projections, and we also have the top 250 dynasty rankings with all players' strengths and weaknesses, all listed on there as well, and my comments on all 250 of them. And we've also got some exclusive fantasy basketball articles, including my favorite punt builds. And during the season, we'll be going through for Platinum members some exclusive question and answer podcast, Q&A podcast throughout the season, and see how we go. So go over there, check it out. You've got 2 subscription options, and get it now before your draft starts, and it will definitely help you dominate this season. Let's talk about the 6th round. I've got on Yahoo here, Franz Wagner. Now, he has an ADP of 67.8, and I've never been a big Franz Wagner fan, but I just think that he is sometimes being slept on. I drafted him, I think, again, that same draft at about 61, again, on the turn of the, start of the 6th round. But if he's going later than that towards the back half of the 6th round, I think you're getting some serious value. And he has upside to do a lot this season. I think he's Orlando's probably best player. He just has a lot of avenues to get better. Now, I don't exactly know where he gets better in, but he could be someone that, gets to the free throw line a lot more, starts shooting more threes. We know that someone like a Jason Tatum did that in his career early on, where he was, settling for a lot of mid-range jump shots and now started to up his three-point volume. I think that is something that Franz could potentially do this season. And he just doesn't hurt you anywhere. He doesn't give you blocks. It's probably the only thing that brings his value down. But again, in a punt block situation, he ranks quite well. I just think that this is too low for him. I think at 67.8, there's a lot of upside here at that point. Young player, plays a lot. So yeah, I really like Franz Wagner there. ESPN, you're drunk. You're absolutely drunk. Fred VanVleet, 70.2. 70.2. Like, what are we doing? I know he's not as good in points leagues, but even in a points league, that's like 20 spots off. Fred VanVleet at 70.2, he goes in the 2nd round in other sites. Like, I don't get it. What are we doing over there at ESPN? I'm sorry if you play ESPN, but it really is a place where casual viewers go to draft. And if you know half of anything, Fred VanVleet should not be going 40 spots close to this in a category league. He should be absolutely drafted in the top 30, probably in the top 25, in my opinion. I know he's over in Houston, but he's going to start. He shoots a lot of threes. He gets a lot of assists. He steals. He gets blocks for a guard. He shoots good free throw percentage. I know his field goal sucks. You can punt it, or even if you get him in the 3rd or 4th round, if he's falling that far, again, you can get those bigger guys later. Like I was in a punt assist build and I got Fred VanVleet in the 3rd round, and my field goal percentage was absolutely fine by the end because I drafted all these big guys later. Field goal percentage is much easier to catch up than free throw percentage. So Fred VanVleet at 70 to me is insanity. So he is absolutely a must-draft player at that spot. I hope none of you let him get that far. Fantrax, I'm highlighting Rudy Gobert here at 64.6. Not the worst one. So compared to some of the other ones we've talked about here, I don't think that there's a huge amount of upside from this spot here, but there is just a scenario here where the blocks last year was an anomaly, and he goes back up to averaging 2 blocks per game. We talked about someone like a Jaren Jackson Jr. in the last most interesting. And we talked about there was only 6 players that averaged 2 blocks per game. Rudy Gobert could easily join that group again. And again, you talk about punt builds. If you punt the free throw percentage, he is someone that is pretty clearly a top 50 in my eyes. Now, again, he does suffer a little bit from that. Doesn't score, doesn't shoot threes, shoot poor free throw percentage, doesn't give you assists or steals. So he does have a few negatives to his game. But again, when you're comparing him in a similar kind of range to other unproven bigs, I think that there is definitely some value in Rudy Gobert in the mid-60s. Let's talk the 7th round. I've got Jakob Poeltl here, who was always underrated, in my opinion. He's got an ADP on Yahoo at 84, which is the back of this 7th round. So he is just someone that is constantly slept on. Again, poor free throw percentage, but even at this spot, if you get him and you've built up your free throw percentage well enough, he is a guy that can return really good value at this point. In a -1 setting, he's easily a top 60, top 65 player. In a punt free throw build, he's like a top 40 guy. He gets you rebounds, he gets you assists from a center position. His steals are actually pretty good for a center, so he doesn't have as much of that pitfall of like a Rudy Gobert, Walker Kessler, Mitchell Robinson sort of type. He gets other stats outside of the big man, blocks, field goal percentage, and rebounds. He does a little bit else. He does some assist work. He does some steals work. He doesn't score a whole lot, doesn't shoot threes. That's fine. And he also has poor free throws. But you can handle that if you've built it up early or if you're punting free throw percentage. One of your teams, one of the players or the people in your draft should absolutely be drafting Jakob Poeltl probably before pick 65, pick 70 in my opinion. And you're still getting value at that point. So at 84, he's a must-draft player. ESPN again. Man, you're passed out on the ground at this point. You're that drunk. Miles Turner, 74.4. I cannot actually understand why this is the case. I just don't get it. He could lead the league in blocks this season. Again, I know it's landed towards points leagues. It makes more sense in that scenario, but in a category league, you have to be aware of the fact that if you're sorting by average draft position, he is way down the board. He should be going in the 30s, in my opinion. So 40 spots of value on this ADP. Fantrax, ADP of 79.4. I've got Devin Vassell. He's, again, recently appeared in the top 25 most interesting. On that podcast, we talked about the fact that before his injury, he was the 50th ranked player in a 9-cat setting. I think he has the ability to be better than that this season. It is interesting to see what happens with Keldon Johnson and if he moves to the bench or if it's one of those other players going to the bench. The Wemby effect is there, but I think, again, when you're drafting him around 80, you've got 30 or more spots of value there. So even if he doesn't perform just as good as that stretch last season and maybe Wemby takes a bit of his usage, you've got more ways to fall back before you even worry about losing value at that pick. So I think that he is definitely a great pick at that spot on Fantrax. In the 8th round, I've got Adam Kingy's boy. Shout out to Adam King. Markelle Fultz at 96.4. I think at this spot, it's great value. Now, I'm not as high as Kingy is on Fultz, but he can definitely smash this position. And again, when you're getting to this spot, assists will start to become harder to come by. And I think of the guards in Orlando, I think he is the safest in terms of role. Really good steals guy, great efficient point guard as well. So fits really nicely in those sort of punt threes or even punt free throw percentage builds. Even those free throws have improved up to close to 80%. But when you want those efficient guards that don't tank your field goal percentage in that type of team, this guy can definitely do that. So I'm not expecting him to truly really, be groundbreaking and smash records or anything like that. But again, in my -1 setting, I think he's easily sort of top 85-ish with potential to be top 75. So at 96, you've got nearly 20 spots of potential value there, in my opinion. ESPN continue to be a joke of a site for category league rankings. I know it's not his rankings, but his ADP. 92.6. Again, I know it's points league slanted, but if you're in a category league over at ESPN, make sure you're aware of where he is in ADP because he should be going in the 40s or 50s. Again, we talk about those blocks players. He actually, again, another decent assists and steals guy like a Jakob Poeltl, not as much of a black hole in those areas as someone like a Walker Kessler. And on Fantrax, Chris Paul makes the list. Again, another player that made the top 25 most interesting, and I think we're sleeping on him too much. And in this area of the draft, I didn't think I'd be saying this at the start of the preseason because I was quite low on Chris Paul, but I still think that we're expecting him to drop, and I am expecting him to drop But I think this is too far. I think he can still be probably a top 75, top 80 guy at worst, with the upside that he still clings around that 50 to 60 range. So the assists, I think, will still at least be very good. 6.5 to 7.5 is probably my projection. Steals should be at 1.2 to 1.4. And he's going to be efficient enough. Like, he's going to shoot high 40s and good from the free throw line. He's not going to turn the ball over. He won't score a lot. But that's fine at this point when you are getting those other elite numbers. So I think at 87.5, it's too far for him to fall. So I would definitely be snapping him up. And he goes later than this sometimes. I've seen him go into the 90s and sometimes even into the hundreds on Fantrax. So he is definitely someone that once it gets past like 85, closer to 90, I am grabbing Chris Paul if I need those assists and steals. All right, let's talk round 9. Yahoo. John Collins has an ADP of 103.8. Some people aren't John Collins fans, and I can see the argument, but I am a believer that he is going to have at least a little bit of a bounce back season. And even if he doesn't, he really just returns what you've got here. He was, I think, the 105th ranked player or the 100th ranked player last season. So you're basically drafting him where he was last season. I think he can improve. I think there's more usage opportunity for him here. He's going from a team where there was Trae Young, there was DeJounte Murray, players like DeAndre Hunter had a lot of the ball there as well, to a team that has Larry Markkinen. And then you've got Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton on the team. And your other front court players are players like Walker Kessler, who shoots like 4 times a game. You've got Ochai Agbaji potentially there, the rookie Taylor Hendricks. I don't think these guys are threats to you when it comes to your usage. Now, I'm not expecting a bounce back in his rebounds. He's not going to blow the world away with his defensive stats. That's fine. He'll get you close to a block per game, and his efficiency is quite nice. So he's the kind of player that's like a 50 from the field, 80 from the line type of player. And when that usage does come back, if he gets a bigger shot attempt diet, that field goal percentage has a larger ability to positively affect your team. So especially in a punt assist build, maybe a punt assist and steals build, he is absolutely perfect in a situation like that. So at 103.8, if you are the team that is punting assists, and I suggest at least one of you should be because it's a great strategy this year, then he is at an absolute must grab, I think, around that. I think I grabbed him late 80s again in that draft. Again, I was punting assists and steals, so he was perfect for me. Maybe could have waited based on this ADP data, but again, didn't want to take the risk because he did everything I wanted. So at 103.8, I think that's great. ESPN, Chris Paul, they just got him even later. They got him at 101.6. Less great in a points league, but still even in a points league, I think he beats that with that assist value there. Fantrax, I've got Andrew Wiggins here at 102.5. Again, not way off, but I do think that Andrew Wiggins, again, sometimes gets slept on. He was in patches last year, sort of like a top 40, top 50 player. And yes, his percentages can be bad, especially the free throw percentage. But again, we talk about players that if you punt that category, he can jump way up. He gets you close to a steal and a block per game. He is going to have to score more, I think, with Jordan Poole no longer in this side. You're replacing Poole with someone like a Chris Paul. There are points to go around that he, Clay, and Steph probably need to take a step up and cover. So I think he gets close to 20 points per game again. Doesn't blow you away in any other real categories, but he's just kind of solid across the ball outside of that free throw percentage. So I think that is something that, again, if you are the team, someone in your league will be punting free throw percentage, and you need to be aware that Andrew Wiggins at 102.5 is too low for him, and that is a great bargain to get a guy to score, especially in a build that often struggles for players to score a lot in. So if you're loading up those big guys that don't score as much, Andrew Wiggins is a late guy that can help you come back in that category. The last round that I'm going to do here, the 10th round, Yahoo, it is Ben Simmons. His ranking, I think, is still outside the top 140, and his ADP is 126.7. I think he needs to go earlier. I'm very confident now that he is the starting point guard for the Brooklyn Nets. There is still risk there, so I don't think you go grabbing him in the 90s, 80s, but if you can get him between 100 and 110, 105, 115, I think you pull the trigger. Someone in your league will be punting points. Someone in your league will be punting free throw percentage. Someone in your league will be punting threes. There might be someone who's punting 2 or 3 of those categories. And if you are that team in that situation, Ben Simmons is an absolute gold mine for those stats that are harder to come by. Steals, assists, he blocks as a guard, he rebounds as a guard, great field goal percentage as a guard as well. So all the things that your team needs to be strong in, he is strong in. He won't score. He will not hit threes. Don't get it twisted. I'm not being fooled by the preseason videos. I'm not buying it. I will never buy it. But he is a good player in what he does, and what he does well can help your fantasy team if it fits your build. If you are a team that needs points and needs threes, needs free throw percentage, then Ben Simmons is not your guy, but there will be someone in your league that can definitely use Ben Simmons, and he is a must-draft player for that team at this spot. He is insane value. ESPN, we've got Cam Johnson at 115.9. Again, points league hit, but in a category league, he is a top 70 guy, in my opinion. Not flashy, not super strong outside of the threes, but just solid across the board. But at 116, that is just way too low, as most are ESPN's rankings for a lot of those types of players. And on Fantrax, Zach Collins is the last guy that we'll talk about here. At 119, I think he can be a guy that you take inside the top 100 at like that 90s range. Again, I don't think he's going to blow us away, but last year when he started, he put up some really big numbers. They weren't, I think they were top 50 or top 60 numbers. They won't be that good because Wemby's going to be there, but he'll still give you solid percentages in both field goal and free throw. He'll give you maybe a 3 per game, solid rebounds, really good assists from a center position, probably close to maybe 3 assists per game from the center position is valuable, a steal and a block, and yeah, he just won't really hurt you from anywhere on the court as well. So I think he is someone, I'm pretty confident in his role. I think he starts next to Wemby because Wemby wants to play power forward this season. So pretty confident he gets a decent chunk of minutes there. So at 119, I think that he is a steal at that spot. Well, there we go, guys. Those are your must-draft players. I've just won you your league right there. You have to draft these guys. You're going to win your league. Let me know, what do you think about those players? Do you disagree with any of those picks? Do you want to just laugh at ESPN and the people drafting over there? Now, again, I know that a lot of people drafting over there are doing points leagues, and this will not apply to them. But if you are drafting on ESPN on category leagues, first of all, why? Go join another site. It's terrible over there. Come and join some competitive leagues. And 2, if you are joining over there, make sure if you are sorting it by average draft position that you are aware of those absolute bargains, because if there's any of you drafting players at that spot, oh man, I'm jealous, because you're going to have some absolute steals on draft day. So let me know, guys. We're going to have the sleeper or the must-draft players for points leagues coming out, and later in this week, we're going to have the do not draft list as well, who are the busts at every round. Until then, see you guys later. Bye.